have AI, spells, abilities, and stats are all randomized, with stats randomized to 50% to 200%. As our runners begin, ShadowWalker finding a light axe at the beginning and an early bridge, whereas SolarysDrix is going to take a peek into magic with Ice 2 and Fast available in Kyneria. Spells levels are randomized tonight, shops are not randomized, and we have LOL XP going on this evening at 5.0x plus 500. As we look at White Magic, Harm 2 and Exit available for that White Mage at the beginning of this seed. SolarysDrix going with a couple Black Mages. ShadowWalker going with only one Black Mage and a Red Mage on their side. Solaris now going to go ahead and take a look at those chests that ShadowWalker got at the beginning of this race. Weapon fixes today are going to be on. Weapon hit critical chances will be closer to the developer's intended rates, which means that swords like the Katana, swords like the Vorpal will have their generally increased critical hit rate that they wanted at the beginning. As you can see, we do have free-form party compositions for the evening. The participants are free to choose their own party. We have some significant differences there. Force None was something that could have been chosen by the players, but neither of them decided to do that. Map and NPC today is Helter Skelter, with entrances, floors, and towns being shuffled. In addition, main NPC items are shuffled. And most importantly, you don't know that yet from getting to this point, but the end goal of tonight's race is going to be to collect 16 shards and then dive into a short Temple of Fiends Revisited with an alternative final boss. And there are some real humdingers in that we will have to watch for this evening. We already have a Root Divergence. SolarysDrix looking at the Temple of Fiends site, which is a marsh cave today. ShadowWalker is going to go ahead and take a peek at the Matoya entrance. And that's where we start at this point. The 3-seed ShadowWalker227 is ranked number 12 in SRL ratings with an SRL rating of 581. SolarysDrix, 37th ranked in SRL ratings with an SRL rating of 405. These two racers have squared off against each other in races 10 times, with ShadowWalker taking 6 of those races and Solaris taking 4 of them. The winner of this 3-game set will take on Sho Fukamachi in the next round. So as soon as Sho gets here, we will find out all sorts of fun stuff as ShadowWalker finds that the king is offering dragon armor today in Matoya's cave. SolarysDrix taking down some bones in the Temple of Fiends entrance. And that is where we start this race. So thanks again, everybody, for watching this Final Fantasy Randomizer Highlander tournament. This is a pretty unique tournament that our runners have put together, led by our tournament director, Artea. SolarysDrix finding a Thor's Hammer, uses that exit spell to hit to their advantage to go ahead and keep that. ShadowWalker almost now to the Provoca entrance. We will see what ShadowWalker finds here. ShadowWalker finds a Fire Floor entrance. We're going to go ahead and take some damage to see what is next. And lo and behold, we have found the Waterfall. Waterfall will have an incentivized item at the other end of this, and ShadowWalker is going to go ahead and take a chance at this quite early in the match with lower level HP and mud goals that can trance. Look out. So let's see if ShadowWalker is able to get through this dungeon with those exit charges safely. So of interest for this match set tonight, we are looking for 16 slices. There is no loot or key needed in order to open this short Temple of Fiends Revisited. ShadowWalker now noping out of the Provoca entrance is going to go ahead and head back to Kyneria to get some additional levels. SolarysDrix also back in Kyneria. Picking up some saving items. This gets us a chance to take a peek at the armor and weapon shops. We only have iron gauntlets available as armor, and so nobody on SolarysDrix's side is going to be able to pick that up. So those early ice charges for SolarysDrix are going to be very important here to go ahead and try to navigate their way through the beginning of this match. That Thor's Hammer, also the Light Axe, will come into great use here. ShadowWalker now entering on the Temple of Fiends side, finding an important Pro Ring. Pro Rings are great defensive items, can be used by all classes, have 8 defense and a -1 evade penalty. They do resist death as well. So that is a great pickup for ShadowWalker and SolarysDrix to find early. Again, very nice to have all of you here. Oh, wow, Arachnids with fire too, and down goes ShadowWalker's party. Only the fighter remains, who's going to try to run away from this, but now with a hold, ouch. There's a reset for ShadowWalker, who probably will go back in to pick up that Pro Ring again. SolarysDrix now heading to the right side of this continent to go ahead and take a peek at what's going on in the Provoca entrance. There's that welcome Thor hammer for ShadowWalker now. So we have casts of Lit 2 and casts of Ice 2 available at level 1. I see lots of friendly and familiar faces starting to filter into the chat room today. Hello to ETAP, a regular mainstay here for Final Fantasy Randomizer action. Great to see you again and great to have you here. So we start this match at a little bit of an impasse. The dungeon that SolarysDrix and ShadowWalker need to dive is this waterfall dungeon, but the Mudgoals are not playing friendly today. SolarysDrix getting through that encounter safely. One Light Warrior is down for SolarysDrix. Navigating through the waterfall. We'll have a required encounter here on a trap tile that may be quite dangerous. And here it is. It's the Wizmummy, Cockatrices, and Paralisks. We do have the Thor's Hammer and Harm 2. And a little bit of Ice 2 as well. We'll hopefully take care of the birds here. And several of them do go down. Now comes the Thor Hammer. And the Wizmummies, of course, have Sleep Touch. Lovely. That White Mage is extremely important to keep alive here. Harm 2 charge goes out. There's 88 damage and 86 damage. That does clear the encounter here. This is a great bonanza of experience. Yang, the Black Belt, goes all the way up to level 11. Rosa, the White Mage, also level 11. Got to be very careful and get through these areas without hitting that trap tile again. And there's our canoe. So that is our required progression that we needed to see. One more chest is the ship. And so those are 2 required progression items that have now been found. I'm not sure if they're required, but they're nice to find. And there's that great use of that exit spell. And let's all stop and consider real quick what this seed would have been like without having exit here. These runners would have had to have gone backwards out of the waterfall, and we might have been at a real disadvantage for a while. ShadowWalker wiping 2 mummies that I believe had frost, and that's no fun to see. SolarysDrix using that ship to great effect now and is going to go ahead and check some of the extra entrances here in Elfland area. The town will have an entrance, and so will the castle. SolarysDrix finding that the entrance, the towns for Elfland will lead you to Castle Ordeal. Elfland Castle itself will have several chests to check down here at Marsh Cave. In the entirety of Marsh Cave, there are 13 chests. The balance of those are down here at the bottom. 3 of them are going to be key locked, and so we're not going to be able to check those, but there are several chests down here to take a peek at. ShadowWalker227 still working his way through this waterfall. Wizmummy and Mummy encounter again is not what he wants to see. He's going to try to run out of this. That Light Axe will do some damage, but it does look like the HP for both the mummies and the Wizmummies are pretty high at this point. SolarysDrix, however, not finding Marsh Cave very much to their liking as well. Yang is poisoned. Rosa can't run away. And the Scorpions are just teeing off on Solaris's party. ShadowWalker taking another wipe or a reset will go ahead and try to take another attempt through this waterfall. So Rosa stands alone now on SolarysDrix's side. And SolarysDrix decides that they will go ahead and take a peek at those chests on the right side of Marsh Cave later, going ahead and resetting out of there. Great again to see everybody. Final Fantasy Randomizer Highlander tournament. The flag set that we were watching this evening was chosen by ShadowWalker227, who is the 3rd seed in this matchup. ShadowWalker's first race in the Final Fantasy Randomizer community was just about 9 months ago. July 25th of 2018 was the first time ShadowWalker cracked open Final Fantasy Randomizer and gave it a try. SolarysDrix has been around for a little bit longer than that. Their first race was on January the 31st of 2018. And so these are two medium-length members of our community going at it. SolarysDrix taking some great defensive maneuvering by buying 4 pro rings, 1 for each member of their party. So death protection for everyone is ShadowWalker227 going to go ahead and heal up here, and let's see if he can get through this mummy encounter. Unfortunately, it looks like the mummies are going to go ahead and tee off first, and the cockatrices doing glance like they do. And that's an unpleasant wipe for ShadowWalker, who is running eastward to a fabled peninsula that we have seen many, many times here in the Final Fantasy game and randomizer community as well. Looks like we're going to try a pop grind, everyone. SolarysDrix, having grabbed some additional resources, is going to go ahead and take another try at the rest of these chests on the Marsh Cave side. Nobody apparently interested so far is for SolarysDrix in using that canoe to go ahead and take a peek anywhere else. And here come the levels now for ShadowWalker. There's a Geist encounter for ShadowWalker. That Lit 2 Thor's Hammer and a Harm 2 charge will hopefully, and they do take good work of ShadowWalker's encounter there. SolarysDrix going running away from some mucks here on SolarysDrix's side. So the eventual end result of this matchup this evening will be that we are looking for 16 slices. Once you get those 16 slices opened up in chests, the way to Temple of Fiends will open. Problem is that we do need to know where Temple of Fiends is, so we will have to run around a little bit to see if we can find where the location of the end game is. But once we do that, we will have a short Temple of Fiends revisited this evening, and an alternate final boss. And those alternate final bosses can be super fun and exciting for us to watch. That could be a combination of Tiamat 2 and Carrie 2, Chaos plus 8 Garlands, 2 Liches with 4 Phantoms, or the Undead Party Pack, and 2 Warmechs or 6 Evil Men. So everybody can start taking your bets on what the end boss is going to be for the evening. Wizards appearing now on SolarysDrix's side as we work through this encounter to try to get to the chest hiding behind. And it does look like the Wizards ate their Wheaties today. That was a hit for over 100 damage on poor Soli, the Black Mage. But here again, that Thor's Hammer doing work. Down goes the Wizards for SolarysDrix. There's a couple more levels. We'll see if they can get through this safely. And your reward is 808 gold. So no slices there. So with that entrance cleared, SolarysDrix now running westward. There's a few entrances that can be checked over here. We have Northwest Castle, and we have the Marsh Cave. ShadowWalker back in Caneria, grabbing some extra resources. SolarysDrix, of note, did find the loot. Loot is, of course, not required in order to complete this match. And now we're going to go ahead and take a peek at the Marsh Cave entrance, and lo and behold, it is Ice Cave. And SolarysDrix is immediately greeted by 6 images and 3 wraiths. Lovely. So again, the Harm 2 charges come out from both the Light Axe, hopefully, and as well as the use of Harm 2 by the White Mage. The Wraiths quit quite hard, also have Paralyzed Touch. ShadowWalker diving back into the Provoca entrance. We are now at 16 minutes in, and he's going to go ahead and take another attempt at this waterfall. Props in the chat room to Celian. To be honest, your first time watching a Final Fantasy I randomizer race, congratulations and thanks for joining us this afternoon or evening as we beam some 30-year-old Final Fantasy goodness into your living room. And the mummies come out with Frost again, unfortunately for ShadowWalker227. But there are a few more levels at this point for ShadowWalker's party, and so hopefully this will be the attempt that he needs. SolarysDrix finding the Sage Sarda, who is happy to give 2,700 gold for the trouble of finding Sarda at the bottom of the Marsh Cave. So reset out there, and we're going to go ahead and take a peek at the Northwest Castle entrance. And hello to the Titan, and unfortunately goodbye to the Titan. We have no ruby for you today yet. But that's an interesting place to keep note of, because if the ruby is found, that will be an entrance on the other side of Titan's tunnel there. SolarysDrix using that canoe to great advantage to go into Dwarf Cave, which is, lo and behold, a nice autumnal Melmon for us to take a peek at. There will be some weapons and armor to take a look at here. So let's go into the armor shop first. Iron armor, which is not useful. We'll go ahead and sell off the extra pro ring we found. Now we're going to go in for swords now. Silver knives, perhaps? SolarysDrix cashing in some of that weapon goodness. We'll go ahead and take a look at the magic now. This is level 5 magic for the White Mage. I saw a wall invis pure, and on the black side we have slow 2, and that's about it. So level 5 is not going to be too terribly exciting. So SolarysDrix will go ahead and leave that area. And it looks like we'll probably be canoeing in a different direction at this point. ShadowWalker running away from that Wiz Mummy and Mummy encounter, getting through that encounter safely. Good for him. Grabs a canoe. Will grab a ship. And an instant exit from ShadowWalker. That's got to be a huge relief for ShadowWalker to get a couple progression items and get out of the gate here. SolarysDrix, meanwhile, working his way through the southern river system and the Swamps of Sadness to go ahead and look at some more entrances. Crescent Lake is off in this direction. By extension as well, we will be able to reach the volcano. So thanks again, everyone, for watching this evening. We are 20 minutes in to this matchup between SolarysDrix and ShadowWalker227. Just a quick recap on what you're watching this evening. These are chaos level enemies this evening, so 50% to 200%, and everything is shuffled there. Spells are adept. That means that magic is shuffled, but the levels are not. EXP and gold is set to LOL XP. That's 5 times the regular experience that you'll get, plus 500. Weapon fixes are on. Party composition is freeform. Map and NPC edits are set to Helter Skelter. And the end goal is bigs and wedges for the evening, which means we need 16 slices. Let's see if SolarysDrix finds anything here. With only one little black mage left, let's find out if this is a town. And of course it is not. So SolarysDrix needs to make a decision whether or not they want to try to dive with just one little black mage. VV, the littlest black mage. And it does look like Solarys is going to go ahead and reset back out. SolarysDrix still trying to work their way through the river system here. We'll apparently go ahead and take a peek at Crescent Lake a little bit later. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and look at probably what this volcano entrance is. ShadowWalker, meanwhile, working on the wizard encounter. So a couple timely cabins there for SolarysDrix. And we will go ahead and take a peek at what's inside the volcano today. And it is a marsh cave entrance. Marsh cave leads to the Q block here at the volcano. But lo and behold, we have no cube. And so SolarysDrix will go ahead and reset back out of that. So of note, Titan is sitting at Northwest Castle, and the Q block is in the volcano. So those are two items that may very well be required in order to go ahead and progress further throughout this match this evening. So either of those items could be sitting in the Crescent Lake entrance, or perhaps the Ice Cave entrance. Those are two places we have not yet been and seen the bottom of, so we'll have to go ahead and take a look at those. ShadowWalker finding a mage encounter. Mage is quite dangerous. SolarysDrix now heading in the other direction back to the Elfland entrance as I hear a telltale ding-dong in chat here, which means I have been joined by Czar. Czar, thanks for giving us a little bit of assistance and help this evening. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Maya, and good evening. It was the chime that summoned me here, sort of like the mystery piano.
That's wonderful.
So I'm very excited for this matchup here this evening. It's been developing, and it appears to be anyone's race thus far. However, we still are only 25 minutes in.
Yeah, we really are only 25 minutes in. SolarysDrix has a little bit of a lead at this point with areas that they have checked, but ShadowWalker is starting to close that gap a little bit here.
Solaris pulling the black mage that could strats here.
Yeah, Czar, what do you think of the difference in party composition that we have seen here so far? With SolarysDrix going with a black belt white mage, 2 black mages, ShadowWalker opting to go for the red mage instead. Do you feel like there's an advantage here innate in either of these party compositions at this point?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is kind of end game. With 2 black mages, they're going to have very low hit points, meaning a nuke, inferno, swirl, anything of that nature that comes out, they're going to be off the table completely. So I think the strat for Solaris here is get that black belt to 32 and then hope you can get fast on him. For ShadowWalker, I think you're looking at more of a 4-man strat here. He might Dan one of these characters, but it looks like he's going with 4-man.
I know through our previous wanderings through these various entrances, there are a couple of key items that we are looking for. The Titan would like to find a ruby, and the cube is looking like it needs to be in Volcano today, as ShadowWalker finding a TNT, which is very interesting. We have not seen the dwarves yet this matchup, so that's another required area we might be looking for. Narek at the bottom of Dwarf Cave. Any predictions as to where any of these might be hiding at this point, Czar?
Well, you know me, I'm always for the reverse C room. I'm still waiting for the day that something's there. Aside from that, there's always the chest and Earth Cave 3rd floor that's kind of out of the way. I think all the viewers kind of like those chests to be required.
I do like the floor that ShadowWalker227 has found here. If you can kill off the enemies on this floor, there's a lot of great experience to be picked up.
Yeah, pretty good amount of chests on this floor too. You can maybe manipulate if it's not too deep in a dungeon. I like finding this floor.
SolarysDrix finding Provoka hiding in the ice cave today. Fire 3 available at level 2. That's a godsend to find in a seed like this, as well as Harm 3 for the white mage. Magic starting to fall SolarysDrix's way here.
Fire 3 and Harm 3, that's going to allow him to navigate a lot of those earth floors and undead floors with a lot more ease now.
As he sets up for the pirate fight now. Pirates falling easily to a cast of the Thor's Hammer.
It's like we have some pretty early caster items here. I see a Mage Staff and a Thor Hammer going around, so that's going to be very beneficial.
And the victory for beating up the pirates today, you apparently just take some of their lunch money. That was 2,700 gold. And so the pirates not holding the answer for where we need to go next in this seed.
The pirates are from Melmond.
SolarysDrix resets out of the Ice Cave Provoka entrance, which means that probably Volcano is the place that we might want to be at this point.
Yeah, we're coming up on 30 minutes. Haven't seen much too far aside from that ship and canoe, TNT, and loot.
There's another casting item, a Zeus gauntlet found by ShadowWalker227. And one slice. Ooh, and an ice sword. So ice sword, very helpful, Czar. That's 29 attack. Crit rate with weapon fixes on is not going to be great. It's only going to be about, 10%. But ShadowWalker has a fighter that can wield that ice sword, so that's a very nice pickup to find.
Yeah, very good finds here. He's loaded with caster items now. This would have been a good seed for fighters, just based upon this caster magic they're finding very early here.
I agree, especially with the king trolling everybody by giving dragon armor right at the beginning of the game. ShadowWalker, hopeful that he'll be able to go ahead and use that dragon armor if a tail can be located. SolarysDrix, that dragon armor, really only just good for cash.
Yeah, chat denoting that we still have yet to see what's going to be dealt in the end game here. We don't know what boss it's going to be. And based upon that, I think this party composition is going to come into play as well.
There's a couple of alternative endgame bosses where the magic would be very helpful. Casts of Fire 3 would be very useful against the Undead Party Pack, for example, especially Harm 3 as well. That would be a nice endgame boss for both of these runners. Of course, it could also be 2 Warmechs and 6 Evil Men, and that would not be nice at all, but that's why alternative bosses are a lot of fun.
In that scenario, Solaris might have a little bit of an advantage due to his extra mages. If he can get those black mages survive a few rounds, get a few nukes, fades, whatever off, it could benefit him greatly in a group pack.
So SolarysDrix is diving the Crescent Lake entrance at this point, finds a slice, which is one of the required 16 things you need to find in order to finish this seed off. Goes ahead and saves, and we'll take a look at some of these other chests. This is the area where ShadowWalker227 found some of the Sky Castle or Sky Cave or Sky Fortress or whatever you want to call it, dungeon entrances. So there is some good experience down here for them to be found, as well as the floater found here by SolarysDrix. So that's wonderful. So that is the required progression item we needed to find. In order to get into the air, SolarysDrix is first to find it at just shy of 33 minutes and is going to go ahead and put that to instant use, breaking this map wide open.
Thank you, Ortea, for supplying the flags. I was just getting them ready.
ShadowWalker227 in the Crescent Lake entrance now as well, and nearing the chests that he will need to find in order to get there. SolarysDrix now at that Sky Castle entrance that I spoke about earlier.
Yeah, I think both runners will dig any sky floor that they find, as the first 3 floors in Sky are usually quite lucrative.
And there's the floater for ShadowWalker227. ShadowWalker might kick himself a little bit here later because I believe he has been in this dungeon once already and may have avoided these farther out of the way chests here on this earth floor. And lo and behold, every time it feels like you skip chests in earth, there's a floater hiding there. I know historically, Czar, that you and I have run many a race where Earth Cave is hiding progression. And of course, we go there as late as possible.
It is. When you're running this game and you've done a lot of the routing and you become more familiar with it, you try to avoid Earth Cave like the plague, because there is a high density of enemies you can encounter, therefore increasing your chances of being ambushed, increasing your chance of being hit with AoE. It's not the place you want to be, usually.
SolarysDrix is going to go ahead and try to finish off this dungeon again. had to reset back out. ShadowWalker227 taking into the air just shy of 35 minutes, and so that was a 2-minute or so advantage for SolarysDrix into getting into the air. The difference here now is that ShadowWalker, having that airship, can get to these volcano and ice cave entrances much faster than SolarysDrix did, who used the ship and canoe in order to get over there.
Yeah, if there was a lead for Solaris, it's probably going to be negated by that. And I think a lot of this race now is going to come down to your routing, as you have a lot of places to check, and time is of the essence.
I think you're right, Czar. There is a lot of places that you can look now for those slices. So what is your strategy when you're looking for just 16 chests to go ahead and open and get yourself ready for the end game? Are you looking for chest density? Are you looking for places with lots of entrances? What's your thought and consideration about what you want to do here?
Well, my first priority is towns. Any remaining towns, I want to get those spells on my list. After that, I'm looking for chest density entrances. Entrances that you can get through quickly, such as Armory. You can get to the next floor quite quickly. I wouldn't dig any more than probably 2 to 3 floors at this point, and then just opt out to explore additional entrances until I have the entire overworld checked.
Eyeball sighting for SolarysDrix, a lot of great experience here. And a blast of fire, 3 for 100 damage, and a second one for 77. Down goes the eye. That was less than 300 hit points, and so Quad X would take those down almost instantly if we can find that spell. Some great experience for Solaris. Lo and behold, ShadowWalker227 finding Temple of Fiends. It is in the Gaia entrance, and there's Garland. Everybody say hi to Garland.
He will be knocked down.
Wow, was that Ted swinging a rune sword or a coral sword? It looked pink to me. Is that the coral sword?
Salt in the wood for old Garland. We'll see him again in a little bit. Maybe. Kappa. And the rod has been discovered by ShadowWalker. A very interesting find there.
I do not believe we have found the floor that is rod locked yet, but that's an indication that the game wants you to find it eventually here. There's another slice, so that's 4 slices now for ShadowWalker227. This race has tightened up considerably once the racers have gotten into the air. SolarysDrix finding the Bahamut floor.
Looks like Shadow's going for these islands here. This is a good play. There's a lot of entrances here. You can get a lot of ground covered pretty quickly.
Meanwhile, SolarysDrix will go ahead and take a peek here in the volcano entrance. And we find Elfland on the right-hand side for ShadowWalker227. There's Quake and Brack and Warp and Stop all at level 3.
Yes, and this is exactly why I want to find these towns. You can come into something like this, pick up Warp, and now you will instantly save a ton of time in searching these entrances.
X for Heal 2 and Soft available on the White Magic side. The only thing there that I probably would have been most interested in was Heal 2. That was in the second slot of level 3, and so that is not going to be Red Mage learnable. So ShadowWalker went ahead and took his Red Mage back to the Black Magic shop and loaded up on spells there. Gold bracelets available, 22,000 today.
Not bad, I've seen worse.
Now over to level 4 Black Magic. There's Quad X, pretty cheap too at 1900. Temper, also available here, so level 4 Black Magic is going to be super useful for that Red Mage and Black Mage. And over on the White Magic side, we have Life sitting in the 3rd slot, so that is very good for the Red Mage. Also, Cure 4 available there.
Some key spells here at level 4. I think those Tempers and was it Quad X, I believe, will benefit Solaris.
Difference being here, Solaris still needs to find them. ShadowWalker opening chests right, left, and center here in the Cardia Islands, finding another slice and the ruby. The ruby can go back to the Titan at this point. The interest of it, though, has waned a little bit because the other side of whatever that Titan's cave entrance might be, we could probably get to with the airship we're already flying around.
Yeah, we won't see any wormhole seed this time, everyone. Sorry.
SolarysDrix finding the mermaids on the left-hand side of your screen here. A lot of chests here that you can check. Already rewarded with one slice. Now we're going to take a long run eventually here over, hopefully to the other side, to take a look at those three. Meanwhile, finding an all-important ribbon. SolarysDrix immediately putting that on the white mage for all status protection.
ShadowWalker opting to dig this ice cave, and I think this is purely based on the fact that he found warp, as he's going to save a lot of time in here.
Adamant pickup, highly interesting. I believe, I'm almost positive that that will turn into Excal, because only main items are shuffled, not fetch quest items. So that will turn into the Excalibur upon giving that to the blacksmith. So a tail would be required in order to make that of use. That's a second slice now here for SolarysDrix. That was Titan's Tunnel left side. Let's go ahead and see what's in the right side. SolarysDrix is going to go ahead and give the airship a little bit of a bath. And Astos is hiding on the right-hand side of the Titan's Tunnel.
Astos has migrated into a cave. He's transitioning into the Dark Elf of FF4.
In exile. The Melmond entrance here is highly interesting. We have found the armory. This is a great area of chest density. This is a very interesting discovery for SolarysDrix as we watch ShadowWalker continue to dive his way through an ice cave that is not terribly friendly.
The plot is thickening here.
So all eyes on the left-hand side as we're going to open up a whole bunch of chests for SolarysDrix. There's a bottle. I saw another pro ring. I think that's like the 6th pro ring we've either bought or seen in this matchup so far. We're going to go ahead and just run from this Grey Worm. There's another slice. And wow, there's the tail hiding here in the armory. And we do know where Bahamut is.
Yeah, armory confirmed loaded.
Meanwhile, over on ShadowWalker's side, ShadowWalker has almost finished up the Ice Cave shuffle here. Again, running into the cockatrices and mummies, which are just not having it with ShadowWalker today. Now they pop out Blizzard. Wow, this is gross. ShadowWalker hoping this Cast of Fire 3 can take down this entire mob. One little cockatrice gets through it, stops the red mage, and that fighter stands alone at this point. Thank heavens he brought some soft potions along.
Yeah, that's a veteran move. You know, soft potions are usually expensive, and you know, it's easily to skip them. You usually don't end up having to use them in about, I'd say 60% of runs, but that 40% where you have them and you need them, obviously critical.
Yeah, so I completely agree. No less than Edgeworth, who is one of our best runners, very often does the veteran move of buying the soft spell when it makes sense for him. And I think that's a great piece of advice for newer runners that are just getting into Final Fantasy Randomizer. If it's cheap and it's in a spell slot that you can use, there's really no reason to not pick soft up.
And it looks like the great grind might be starting up here for ShadowWalker with the eye.
So if we're going to do a little bit of an eye grind here, if anybody has any eye facts, go ahead and feel free to share those in chat. ShadowWalker, I just got a glance at how many slices he has. He has 6 slices at this point. We'll go ahead and take a peek at what SolarysDrix has next time we see the item screen over there.
EXPs. Every time I see EXPs, I see them as gummies, and I want to eat them.
It's a lot of legs for gummy EXPs. SolarysDrix with 9 slices to ShadowWalker227 6 slices. So this is anyone's match at this point. Interesting eye grind going on here, Czar. With LOL XP, we have 5 times the experience plus 500 gold. How long would you grind here with alternative bosses at the end of this lovely seed we're watching?
I think the target here is 32. Go from there. If the boss is worst case scenario, come back 42.
SolarysDrix taking the time to work their way through this hairpin to go ahead and see what chest is here. It's another ice sword. It's like gilding the lily, unfortunately, for SolarysDrix. That's a couple of ice swords we have seen now for a party. They can't use them.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll find much benefit in selling them either, as he's already pretty loaded with gold. Like Shadow just hit level 26, so it'll probably be another 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes before he is at 32.
Interesting discovery on Solaris' side. We have found Tiamat in the Bridge of Destiny. Solaris' party is at level 21, and lo and behold, there's a war mech. Or 5 war mechs, if you wish. But it looks like we're going to go ahead and run away from that encounter.
Warmech confirmed. Warmech sightings are 10 times more likely to happen when I am present.
We're going to go ahead and put that black belt at the bottom of the party here as we take on Tiamat. We do have fast. White Mage is not going to have a whole ton to do. We're going to really make sure that we fast this black belt at level 21. And so the punching begins. That's 10 hits for, oh boy, only 38 damage. So we might be here for a little bit.
Shadow getting a lot of experience here. And I think this race is kind of developing here to a point where it's going to be shards versus levels. And it's going to heavily come down to the last boss.
Second round was 9 hits for about 200 damage from that fasted black belt. Fire 3 doing tickle damage. Tiamat decides to have a lunch of White Mage, and down goes Rosa. So we have 2 black mages and a black belt left. Cast of Ice 2 is also not going to do a whole lot to Tiamat here. 10 hits for 161 damage. We're going to just plink away at Tiamat here. Thankfully, Hold hits Sali, which is much better than hitting Yang at this point. Yang is the only person doing any damage.
Another hold on the same character. Gives Solaris a chance to get through this battle.
And there we go. 8 hits for 250 damage. Down goes Tiamat. That was a encounter that SolarysDrix really needed. Only 3 slices left. A wipe there, Czar, would have really set SolarysDrix back, but instead, getting through the encounter successfully leaps SolarysDrix forward in this match. Only needs 3 slices left at this point.
Yeah, fortunate. At this point, I think Solaris has got to be thinking about where's that nuke at.
SolarysDrix has also not yet found Elfland. Elfland, we know, contains temper, which is going to be hugely important for those 2 black mages to use.
So at this point, Shadow's going to have a much easier time with a more isolated final boss, whereas Solaris will probably have an easier time with a group.
ShadowWalker227 finding the maze, so to speak, from the Sky Fortress. SolarysDrix back at the volcano again. Realizes that they've been here and off they go. That happens. It's entrance and floor shuffle.
What magic is this?
Diving back down past this earth cave where we found the floater earlier. There must be something SolarysDrix wants here. And if I recall correctly, is it Bahamut sitting down at the bottom here? Are we looking at a class change, perhaps?
Yeah, with his party composition, class change will most likely benefit him as he continues on looking for that nuke, looking for that fade.
It's a little bit of an interesting play here. I don't know if SolarysDrix has found anything that would let them know that a class change would be good. For example, they don't know where temper is at this point. So we'll have to see whether or not this pays dividends down the road. ShadowWalker on the right-hand side of your screen also finding a fiend. Carrie, the fiend of fire, will go ahead and give 2 slices upon defeat.
Yeah, Shadow will tighten up this current race for the shards with Carrie going down.
Class change completed. SolarysDrix is going to go ahead and punch a blue dragon. But I don't believe that they have the cube. So this might be a pretty short attempt unless we're going to go ahead and grind here. Yep, looks like we might.
Yeah, Solaris is now committing to this grind. Blue Dragon, in theory, will go faster via experience, but is much more powerful than the Eye in terms of hit points and attack ability.
So this is a pretty interesting place to do a grind. I think out of the 3 original grind tiles that people tended to use, one being the Agamas or the red dragons at the Gurgu volcano, or the Eye at the ice cave that we saw ShadowWalker using, I think the Mirage Tower grind tile here is definitely the least used out of those 3. But a very interesting play here for SolarysDrix to go ahead and get some levels. Finding this grind tile, remembering that it's here. This is a pretty veteran play from SolarysDrix.
And yes, remembering to unequip that Pro Ring so their Master has higher Absorb. If you equip the Pro Ring, the Master will only have 8 Absorb, I believe. Well, the Blue Dragon should kill off his other party members quickly if he decides to commit to a solo, but at level 25, ShadowWalker finds the ribbon with the mermaids. Might just opt to continue to grind it out. His Black Mages will have higher... Black Wizards will have higher hit points for it.
That's one of the things that our runners need to think about is the identity of what the final boss is going to be here. It's rather hard with these alternative bosses at the end of this slice hunt to know how to best prepare, whether or not you're going to need a high-level black belt or you're going to need a party with a lot of HP across all 4 members so that you can get through this correctly.
Question in chat about the Black Belt Master glitch. Yes, it has been fixed. In addition to the magic defense, the black belt will now gain 3 magic defense upon every level, and the master will gain 4. So you don't have to worry about leveling your black belt before class changing to get that extra benefit. Hey, I think we have just been joined by Sho Fukamachi. Sho, is that you?
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, it's quite all right, Sho Fukamachi. It's showtime, everyone.
Yes, I kept the seat warm here for you, sir.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
So we are watching SolarysDrix take on ShadowWalker227 in this shard hunt. 16 shards are what we are looking for. Sho, as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, you are actually going to take on the winner of this three race set. So I'm sure that you're super interested to watch some of the strategies that occur here.
Yes, I am very interested. Yes, and I will be taking on the winner of this matchup, so I'm looking forward to it.
ShadowWalker227 finding the bottle, also the armory here. There's several slices here that ShadowWalker will be very happy to find.
Tail will be nice if for the knight, if he's got some good equipment.
It'd be one of those interesting questions. I have not looked into ShadowWalker's inventory recently to see whether or not the dragon armor was kept or whether or not it was sold for resources. The king gave the dragon armor at the beginning of the game, which was kind of interesting to watch. ShadowWalker227 finding Tiamat's floor here. So with a lot of levels here, this should not be too scary of an attempt for ShadowWalker.
Yeah, with the shortened Topher, should be pretty easy. I see that Solaris is going for a grind, probably to 32, I'm assuming.
Those black wizards on SolarysDrix's side has stayed up probably a little bit longer than SolarysDrix would have wanted in this grind.
Yeah, because the blue D is going to give you a lot of experience, especially in the LOL XP, frame. But if they're still alive, it's not going to help them level very much.
This is going to be a close encounter down the stretch. Czar, do you feel like any of the alternative bosses at the end of this that we're going to see play better or worse to either of these runners? What would be, for example, SolarysDrix's probably most wanted boss at the end and least wanted boss?
I think the most wanted boss is the 2 dragon setup with Carrie and Tiamat. They are only 2 enemies. You can run into the really nasty phantoms with the Lich combination. Very high magic power, very high attack. You can run into the 2 war mechs and the Evilmen, which is probably the worst combination. But at this point, I think that combination would actually benefit a little more to Solaris with these high levels, and surely they're going to track Nuke down at this point with these levels.
ShadowWalker227 starting up the Tiamat encounter. We've got an ice sword with a fighter up top here and a black belt as a kicker with 4 hits and 173 damage. But it's good old Brack that does the job here, and Tiamat is broken into pieces. ShadowWalker227 killing off a second fiend. That's a great attempt for ShadowWalker.
Brack strat's paying off.
And that is all of the slices that ShadowWalker needs. So ShadowWalker will probably do some resource gathering here and then going to go ahead and challenge the end of this matchup. We are just shy of 1 hour in. This has been a back and forth contest between SolarysDrix and ShadowWalker227. SolarysDrix opened up an early lead. ShadowWalker came roaring back. SolarysDrix found Tiamat first and went ahead and killed them off. And now here we are 1 hour in, and we are very, very close to seeing what is in store at the end of the shortened Topher.
Shadow narrowed that shard gap very quickly.
Yeah, because Tiamat gives four or five, I think.
Yep, Tiamat will give you 4. Carry will give you 2. And so it's Kraken and Tiamat that'll give you 4 Fiends. And the other 2 Fiends will give you 2. As we watch ShadowWalker227 head down into the Chaos Sanctum, and let's see what we're met with today. Anybody have any predictions? Here we go.
I'm saying 2 Phantoms and whatever else comes with them, the 6, whatever.
War mech! War mech!
Well, Zar, you got your wish, because it's 2 Warmechs and 6 Evilmen. Here we go.
The nice thing is that there's a high potential for the Black Belt to take out one of the War Mechs pretty fast, assuming how high level they are.
And that Black Belt does tee off at the beginning here for about 450 damage on the top Warmech. The mages are going to go ahead and use their spells to try to bring the evil men down. Dave, the fighter, also using the mage staff.
Oh yeah,
And-
Fasted BB is gonna do some damage now.
And here we go. Out come the temper charges now, as well as Evil Man gets off a life too. There's a thunder attack from one of the Evil Men, bringing down Bill the Black Mage. But Bill the Black Mage already did their job getting that fast and temper off on that Black Belt.
These evil men were pretty weak. Oh, and then down goes one War Mech.
Thunder could actually be a big problem based on initiatives. If you don't get those evil men down, you're going to need wall or some more ribbons. And there it is. We have a winner.
So with an SRL time of 1 hour, 1 minute, 34 seconds, ShadowWalker227 takes the first match of this 3-match set, taking down 2 Warmechs, 6 Evil Men with a souped-up black belt, fasted, tempered, and off it went. Jim the Black Belt punched a couple Warmechs into next Tuesday, and we are joined in the chat room by ShadowWalker227. Welcome to the broadcast booth, ShadowWalker. GG's, congratulations on your win.
GG's.
Thanks. It was a fun race. I really enjoyed the flag set, and SolarysDrix was very agreeable. I got all the flags that I wanted, so...
It was a very harmonious beginning at the flag selection between the two of you. As we continue to watch SolarysDrix go ahead and get ready for a challenge at Temple of Fiends Revisited as well. Walk us a little bit through this seed, ShadowWalker, especially your fun and excitement at the Provoca entrance, trying to get through that waterfall. Did you feel like you were spinning your wheels in the mud there?
I mean, anytime you're going to have to dive waterfall that early, nightmares are no fun. The wizard mummies and the mummies had a combination of sleep touch and, what was it, blaze or something. So not a good time. And once I narrowed down that there were no other possible entrances, it was only a matter of figuring out how to get my levels and get through it, because I didn't really have another choice, so... So it definitely felt like I was spinning my wheels a little bit, but I also knew that my opponent would likely be spinning their wheels. Tried to do a little bit of a pop grind, get myself going, and found out that giants were toxic. Ray. But yeah, from there it really started opening up. Once I got both the ship and canoe there, I knew that we were off to the races. And finding that loose floater in the early accessible chests in the Crescent entrance, that really helped out quite a bit.
That segues right into my second question for you. If I recall correctly, you had been in that dungeon where the floater was hiding on that first floor of Earth Cave. Is that correct? Did you dive that dungeon down a little bit deeper and then have to go back to find that progression item?
I did. So I started diving, and I saw that it was Earth 1, and the chests on Earth 1 are a little bit out of the way. They're not too bad to check, but more often than not, I feel like I don't get anything good out of them. So I decided to skip them on my first pass and dove a little bit deeper, and found the Sky 1 floor, which has 10 chests. There's a lot of chests there. Managed to find a slice and a key item or two. So I definitely wanted to save that progress before trying to dive any deeper, because I was getting rocked by the bad men and the evil men and everything else that is inhabiting Sky 1. So I decided to exit out and cut my losses since I was out of heal potions. And when I went back in, I decided, well, I better go ahead and check these Earth 1 chests just in case there's something here that I want. And it turns out that's where the floater was, so at that point it was off to the races.
So what made you choose this flag set? Or why did you go with the entrance shuffle and the LOL XP and the shard hunt?
So I really like chaos enemies. That's more along my normal wheelhouse, everything being shuffled. I would say that this is not even shuffled enough for my liking, but chaos enemies were going to be my go-to. The only fun spell option, I think, is the Adept. Vanilla spells, you get really slow spell progression, and if I had to go through this particular seed with just fire, lit, and sleep trying to go through waterfall, that would have been an absolute nightmare. I would have may as well have re-rolled my party at that point and just ground like 4 level 20 black belts or something. But the other options were mainly to try and go pretty quickly. LOL XP is nice because you're never lacking for XP. You don't really need to do much of a grind. Obviously, I took the grind on the eyes when I was there because they were basically free. And Shard Hunt's fun. It doesn't see enough use in tournaments, so I was happy to throw on Shard Hunt. And Floor Entrance Shuffle is a ton of fun. I can't get enough of that.
Tell us about the eye grind. Before you came into this race, how committed were you to taking that should you find it?
How committed was I to taking an eye grind should I find it? It wouldn't necessarily have been an eye grind, but I had always intended, once I took the black belt to get a black belt to level 32. And so, some good common options. You've got the eyes, you've got the red D, Agama. So there's a couple of tiles that I was going to check if I came across them. And when I threw out the black belt punch on the first round, seeing the eye and it died in one hit, I knew it was time. So I was committed at that point to going ahead and just getting to level 32.
Solarys actually ended up taking his grind on the blue dragon, so it was a little slower.
Yeah, the blue D gives pretty comparable XP to eyes, but they have a bit higher of the base stats. Some more absorbed, some more HP. So unless they roll particularly friendly, there's better options, I think.
SolarysDrix finding the ice cave. Might go ahead and take a peek at some of the chests in here. Still one slice shy of going ahead and being able to take on this short Temple of Fiends Revisited. ShadowWalker, for yourself, you find the ice cave, and ice cave can be, to put it mildly, a little bit unpleasant, and you decide to dive it anyways. You're about halfway through the seed at that point, and there were still some areas left to check, but you went ahead and you dove it anyways. A little bit of a thought process as to what you were looking for there. Was the eye grind part of the equation there?
It was certainly part of it. There's a number of good things about Ice Cave, and particularly this section of Ice Cave. Since you skip out the first 2 floors, that cuts out a lot of the running that makes Ice Cave a lot more dangerous in a typical randomizer setting. You start getting into seeing the chests immediately. I had just found Elfland, so I was able to pick up Warp, so I was able to get the 3 chests in the room SolarysDrix was in for basically free. And there's a good number of chests in Ice Cave, so it was pretty likely that there was going to be a slice or 2, and I believe I did find 1 or 2. and the opportunity for the eyes, if they were friendly for a grind, was definitely enough to push me to take the dive.
And then the dive itself into Temple of Fiends shortened. What was your preferred alternative endgame boss you were looking for, and which endgame boss were you fearing the most?
I actually kind of forgot that Helter Skelter gives you, or not Helter Skelter, it's the one of the options, whatever one, it gives you the alternate final boss.
Surprise!
So I remembered at the end, oh yeah, I'm not just going to punch Chaos. And I think the fight that I got was very agreeable. The evil men didn't have too many HP. Warmech and evil men can be a nuisance for a black belt focused party. I didn't have great AoE options, so if I was normally prepping for that fight in particular, I would want nuke or fade. So I might have spent a little more time digging for spell shops. But we had fast and temper, and the evil men rolled low on HP, so it was not too bad.
I believe this is the first time SolarysDrix has found Elfland, so we're going to go ahead and pick up some spells. Life and Cure 4 on a White Wizard, very, very happy, very welcome.
Yeah, Life was a really pleasant sight. Once I saw that at level 4, that's when I really felt like the seed was going to be much safer. Because up until that point, obviously, it's not convenient if you have to run back to a town every time you want to revive a character. And that's part of why I actually did a 2-man grind, grinding the red mage and the black belt, because I wanted to keep the person with life as safe as possible.
SolarysDrix, remembering to run back outside here, save the game. We're going to knock down Garland real quick, and then we'll be on to the Shortened Temple of Fiends Revisited for SolarysDrix as well. Bye-bye to Garland.
Shadow, tell us about the early game a little bit. When you got the airship, what's the first thing you're looking for? Are you looking for chest density? Are you looking for a bunch of easy entrances?
The very first thing I was looking for in this particular seed, given that we only had, like Ice 2 Fast and Exit, because we'd only found level 1 magic, I wanted to find towns. I wanted some more options for my mages. I was sitting on like level 15, but only level 1 spells when I had, level 6 spell charges. So that was my top priority. And that's kind of why I decided to go north first rather than my typical clear the whole south half of the map before going north. And I found Provoca in the Ice Cave entrance on my way. And then we found Elfland, and it was pretty smooth sailing from that point.
And looks like SolarysDrix has taken out both the Warmechs and is now just left with Evil Men.
Should be all downhill.
SolarysDrix will be the person that puts together the flag set for match 2. Anything that you're... Well, shouldn't ask strategic questions like that, what you're scared of or what you're not scared of. Let's talk a little bit then about the Chaos Rush tournament that's going on here. This felt a little bit reminiscent to that. Was that part of your decision process?
A little bit. It wasn't necessarily to turn it into a Chaos Rush seed, but like the option to run around and get XP very quickly. I didn't want to have to sit around and do a 20-minute grind halfway through the seed. That never feels good, so I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of XP to go around. And just in general, I like Shard Hunt. It's a good format. It's a nice change of pace. Rather than doing the same thing every time, this time it's more of exploration. So I like the variety that the randomizer provides.
It looks like SolarysDrix took a wipe after getting thundered heavily by the Evil Men.
Yeah, we were concerned about that. The Evil Men are not very strong, but that thunder can be an issue if you don't get good initiatives.
Yeah, and that's why I always make sure to AoE down the evil men as fast as possible. You can't let them get off anything that they might have hidden in the pool. And that surprise thunder was definitely a thing that was concerning to see.
And that will do it with an SRL time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, 18 seconds. SolarysDrix gets through the double Warmech 6 Evilmen encounter. GG's to SolarysDrix and GG's to ShadowWalker, taking first place in this 3-game matchup. So you're taking game 1, ShadowWalker. We'll see when we get game 2 going on here. And let's see if SolarysDrix wants to come in for an interview. So we will ask real quick. Yeah, we'll be joined in chat here just a little bit by SolarysDrix for an interview. So that's great to see. And thanks everybody in chat for watching.
I certainly enjoyed this race. I think I learned quite a bit about these flags and how I should go about them. And it was nice to affirm that the towns are the first priority, I think, when you deal with something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially based on both of our parties, seeing SolarysDrix party afterwards. Anytime you have 2 or more magic casters, you really need to make sure that you have your options on the table. So finding those towns is really important in a flag set like this. Made it a little bit annoying to get going, given that we didn't have towns available, but fortunately we had just good enough options, and there were some agreeable casting items that made getting through the early game a lot smoother.
So you got the tail. Is there any reason why you chose not to go with the class change at the time you got the tail?
I didn't see Bahamut. If I had stumbled across Bahamut, I likely would have class changed, especially after the 32 grind. But with the party that I took, doing a class change was not on my priority list. It was one of those, I have the tail, so I will promote if I see him, but I didn't feel like I needed to. That said, I wouldn't have complained about the Cure 4 opening up to my Red Wizard, so that was definitely something I was looking for if I came across it.
We are joined by SolarysDrix. GG, welcome.
GG guys, GG Shadow.
Yeah, GG man, good race.
Yes.
So Solaris, were you a little surprised at your final enemy there?
Yeah. The reason why I took the party I did was just in case something like that happened. I didn't really figure that those bad men had that little hit points, or I'd have just nuked them down to begin with.
So the race developed rather quickly. You had a very good shard lead at one point, as Shadow took an early grind, and then as you were grinding on the Blue Dragon, things kind of evened out a bit. Tell us more about your Black Mage selections. Were you kind of, missing nuke there?
Yeah, I was actually missing a lot of spells. Not a lot of Black Mage stuff was there, unfortunately.
Yeah, but critically, Solaris, you had early access to that exit spell, and you were very fortunate in being able to weave your way through that waterfall early. When you go back and watch the VOD, there was a pretty significant difference between the two of you in getting through that early dungeon with the robot sitting at the other end, and all of those required progression items. Tell us a little bit about the early game. How did you feel, and how it progressed for you?
I felt good. It was a good start to it. When we got both the canoe and the ship, I think I picked the wrong one. I think I should have went canoe instead of just floating around in the ship. But other than that choice, I think I ran pretty well the way I wanted to.
Talk a little bit about the Blue Dragon grind. That's not something we see every day, but it's definitely a great grind tile, especially when in these more vanilla-esque flag settings. And there's a lot of XP to be had there. Did you notice that the Blue Dragon was there earlier and then went back to it for your grind?
Yeah, when I first went into the water to the volcano, and when I went down it, I noticed it was the Q block. And then when I got everything I needed, I was like, it's the only place I've found so far. Might as well do it.
And we'll be back to you for game 2 of this 3-game set, where it's going to be your turn to select some flags for the next matchup between you and ShadowWalker. Are you going to be as nice, and hopefully you'll be as harmonious in this next matchup as you were this time? You didn't veto at all. I kept watching the flag selections from ShadowWalker, and you were like, "Yep, that's fine, sure, okay." You have different ideas in store for game 2 here?
We'll see. I picked the 2 flag sets I played in the first round were pretty interesting, so I might dust one of them off, or I might find a new one and dust it off.
I'm looking forward to your guys' matchups so I can watch and take notes as the winner of your guys' match will face me.
Nice.
Scoping out the competition.
That's why he did commentary.
Hey, what
So
better seat than
concerning,
front row?
Yep.
Concerning game 2, can you throw us a bone here, guys? Give us something. What's something that we can expect for sure in your game 2 flag set?
I'm hoping to put a random party.
I love it. I love random party. Anything could happen.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm hoping.
I suspect that, unlike today's match, I suspect that I will actually use a veto at some point. Not necessarily on a random force party, but I suspect that I might throw a wrench in Drix's plans rather than being very agreeable as he was to me.
Well, I'm sure, ShadowWalker, when it comes time to veto, you'll do it as politely as you always do. And things will be, and it'll be harmonious anyways. I think we can go ahead and at this point. ShadowWalker227, you had a great match today, 1 hour, 1 minute. Any final thoughts as we start to give the channel back to speed gaming?
Just get out there and play FFR if this looks like something that you're interested in. Stop by, the Discord. Stop by the Final Fantasy Randomizer website. It's a ton of fun. There's a great community surrounding this game, so definitely participate if this is something that looks at all fun to you.
And Solaris, what do you have for us as we wrap up?
Much the same. Just thank you guys for commentating, and the tracker for tracking, and Speed Gaming for hosting us.
Sounds good. I will go next, and then I'm going to throw it to Czar after this. For those of you that did not watch last night's 3+ hour extravaganza between Czar and Tyrannex, that VOD is available here on Twitch and should be showing up in YouTube relatively shortly. It is a great matchup to watch. It is full of thrills, chills, and surprises. So go ahead and make sure that you take a peek at that. I do want to give Tyrannex props for tracking for us this evening. And thanks everybody for watching. There'll be more Final Fantasy Randomizer Highlander tournament coming up tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's myself against X Ice Blue, and then on Tuesday evening, 11 o'clock Eastern, Elastoid takes on Greggly Puff as they wrap up their 3-game set. Czar and Sho Fukamachi, I'll throw it to Czar first. Thanks to the both of you for commentating with me today. It was great to have both of you here. And Czar, go ahead.
Well, thanks for bringing me in here, Maya. I'm glad to come in on the fly. It was refreshing to get some commentary on one of these races. And yeah, if you want to see something with thrill, chills, and spills, check out that VOD from yesterday. I just want to thank all the viewers for coming out today. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, our runners today. Great showing from both runners. I look forward to round 2. Thank you, Sho, for coming in on the fly. And I'm just looking forward to the next match. And I'll throw it over to Sho.
Thanks, Zar, for stepping in. Sorry I was a little bit late. Work calls, and so had to be here. But yeah, great community. Thanks, Maya, for calling me up and saying, hey, you should do commentary. And looking forward to your guys' next match, ShadowWalker and Solaris, so I can take some notes and hopefully have some strategies for both of you guys.
All right, with that said, thank you all so much for coming out and watching today. For Ikman Maya, Sho Fukamachi, I am Zardia, and Team Vorpal.